This is the next update in my build of the Minicraft 1-48 UH-60 Marine 1 for the HobbyLink International helicopter group build. I haven't had as much time at the bench over the last couple of weeks as I would have liked to, but with work settling down a little bit and my daughter's sports season coming to an end, I should start getting more bench time. So picking up where I left off, got everything at least cut off of the main sprues and grouped according to assemblies in the instructions. And then these are painting references only. I am not scratch building anything out of the box. And then as to the paints, so I traced down the FS numbers, and I have what you see there, the gunship gray, the insignia white, and the dark green to give me that paint scheme. So starting with the first assembly there, number 1, I have cleaned up all those pieces, actually glued together with the thin super glue and letting that dry. In the second assembly there, the interior, so I've cut out all those chairs, and then what I did is position them in that box with sticky tack, and then laid the backs on there and just touched it with the glue. And so now I'm letting all that dry, and I attach the back to the interior piece there. And another assembly, this one here, got all that stuff cut and ready, sanded down. And now I'm going to start prepping all these parts. And then for that top panel there, that had some ejection pin marks, so I filled those in, and so did the tail rotor. Next will be those side doors, which are right there. Here's the rotor assembly for the center of the rotors, and that's all just dry fit. I've sanded everything. Now it needs to be kind of cleaned up before painting. And then these rods back here go between here and up there, but I want to do individual painting before that. And then the rotor blades go in like that, so that whole thing then needs to get painted like that. And that is the green on the top piece there, and then gloss black, and then the flat black. And then this is the gunship gray, I believe, on the leading edge. Here's those doors cleaned up. There's a ejection pin mark right smack dab in the middle of that one, so I still have to sand that up. But this one, you can see that, but that's actually smooth. I want to draw attention to the fact that I'm sticking to my promise of not scratch building. But that includes, I just want to point out, so this is built to have this door sliding back on this, what is essentially a Black Hawk helicopter. On the actual transport, I'll show a quick flash of the reference. This is actually 2 doors with a seam down here, and the 2 doors open this way. But I'm not doing that. So I'm going to obviously build it closed, which will be the closest to the way it should look as I can get. And I believe it's that way on both sides. So, again, out of the box. And then another thing is these pieces here are like handrails, and there's 2 holes here. So I'm going to fill these 2 holes and leave these off. And again, these ejection pin marks are just horrendous, and you spend a ton of time trying to clean it up. I still have a bunch of work to do on this one. I filled those holes with the putty using my knife. Just shoved it in there, scraped it off, let that dry, sand it off later. Working on the engines, the landing gear, these other pieces, clean them up and putting them together. So yeah, a lot of cleanup on these Minicraft kits. Got to cut that stuff out of there. some off-phase press, lines that need to be cleaned up. Some were really clean, like those landing struts were actually not bad at all. And then some were, kind of way off. Like in here, again, where they chose to put ejection pin marks. So then on like this piece, there's an ejection pin mark there, but then they didn't fill the mold enough. And so it has this pitting on that side. So that's going to take some work to fix that up. So just a lot of little stuff like that, chewing up my time. So just making my way through it. It's going to be cool when it's done though. So again, just test fitting here to see how those engines are going to fit together, and making sure I have that cleaned up enough. The fit isn't the greatest. Again, I have to kind of push that one into there, but here it's a little better. And then I'm toying with, let's see if you can see that. That is, that piece has a front to it, so to speak, where you can see it's notched out for that piece. And I'm toying with opening that up because it'll be black back there and inside. So instead of being like, that's how the piece comes. So instead of being like that, it would be open in there. Maybe you can see it better on this side. Yeah, so see how that's closed? If that was open, going back in there, I think that would look a little better. And then I still have all these little pieces to clean up. So all the major assemblies are clean, and it's all the little pieces. And then I want to kind of be careful with those and do them just before painting. So these parts are still, drying from having used the Tamiya cement, which melts that plastic. I like to give it a full 12 hours until the next day before I go and mess with it, sand it, or what have you. So it's Sunday night, and I'd like to get this video out. So pretty much this is where I'm at, waiting for, God, there's just so many things to fill, waiting for these things to dry. So I can sand them up, and then start putting together and or painting sub-assemblies. But just stuff like this just is slowing me down. Like I'm gonna have to fill that and kind of rebuild that thing because it has a prominent spot on the helicopter. I thought I would be farther along than I am by now, but I'm, as per usual, taking my time and hopefully doing it right. So this is where I'll end this update. So as always, thanks for watching and happy modeling.